Hey, it's Tracey and Megan, and the January real estate market stats are in.
So the average price for a property in Waterloo region came in at $764,000. Now that represents about a 21% decrease from January 2022.
Yeah, and it's really important to remember that what was happening this time last year in the real estate market in most of the country, and certainly here locally. If you think about last year, January came out really strong, and the prices just went up and up. January, February, and then March, they started to come down quite quickly. So over the next while, over the next few months, when we see those stats being reported, because we normally report the stats in the particular month of this year compared to the same month of the year before, there's going to be some really big differences in the price.
Yes.
But really, most of that decrease in price, it already occurred. It occurred last spring and summer. And as we've been saying for a while, the prices have been pretty stable in the region since about August, September of last year.
And I think it's important when we look at December to January, we've actually had an increase.
How much is the price up since December?
We're up just about 6%.
Yeah, so this really kind of makes sense, and it's what we were expecting to see when the January stats came out, because what we've been experiencing in January is a lot of multiple offers again. There really weren't a high number of sales in January, and that's because there isn't very much to choose from. I find that there's buyers out looking. Certainly we have buyer clients out looking, and many others do too, but very little to choose from, very little inventory, and that's caused
multiple offers. We're starting to see them coming back in again. And while we're not seeing those crazy dramatic price increases that we saw last year, we are seeing things selling above asking, and in some instances, no conditions. Some we are seeing conditions, sometimes we're not. It really depends on the property.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We, this time last year, every morning when we looked at our hot sheet to see what had sold the day before, I'll be honest with you, most real estate folks were kind of spitting out their coffee when they would see the prices each day. It was alarming. They were really high prices. But I'm finding this past month that even though there's a lot of offers, like we've had buyers involved in multiple offer situations this month where there's been like 34 offers on the table, and yet the price that ultimately wins the day is in no way crazy. It actually makes sense against the comparables. People are not losing their head out there.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because, with the interest rates higher, people are very price sensitive right now. And so they're not going crazy. We do see a lot of instances right now where maybe you can't get your conditions in again, and that's unfortunate, but it's not all the time. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one thing we do want to keep reiterating is when you're looking at that average sale price, don't compare it to the same month last year. Those couple of months, it wasn't a healthy, balanced market. It was very highly on the seller end. We had no inventory. We were close to like not even 0.0 of a month's worth of inventory.
And money was cheap.
Yes, money was very cheap with the interest rates being as low as they were, and that just wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, we really want you to remember over the next few months when you're hearing in the news that the prices have dropped 20, 25%, remember they're comparing to the crazy high months last year. That decrease in price already occurred, as I've said, earlier in the year. It's not occurring now. In fact, right now we're seeing those prices have come up a little bit. So what do you think this means right now for sellers? People thinking you might going to sell soon.
Sellers, you have to get on the market. Don't wait. Don't look at this as doom and gloom. Talk. We're here. We're happy to answer any questions, but we're telling sellers now is the time to get on the market because there are serious buyers out there, and buyers, they're becoming more comfortable with the interest rates.
Yeah. And I actually think what's going to be similar to last year is I think possibly some of the best sales of the year are going to be posted in January, February, and March again. I don't think it's going to drop precipitously after that, but I think you're going to, as we get more inventory on the market, it just might take longer to sell. And when you're a seller, it's kind of nice to get that sale over and done within a week.
Yeah.
What about for buyers?
Our best advice is going to be patient. Really have a thoughtful, well-educated decision on what you're making an offer on, and look at those comparables and try and go with your best foot forward but don't go crazy.
Yeah, it's not a time to lose your head. You have to just wait. Sometimes you may have to make several offers, but you don't want to pay too much in this market either. So take your time. Be prepared to maybe have to wait through a few rounds of offers before your ship comes in.
And know your financing. Make sure that that is very, very airtight, especially if your pre-approval was prior to the last interest rate hike. Make sure that that is completely up to date and you understand your numbers from your lender.
Yeah, and long term over the coming year, we're still very much expecting it to be a more or less flat market, little bits of ups, little bits of downs throughout the year. But in terms of the values, you can pretty much expect them to stay fairly constant throughout 2023. Now, we had that interest rate hike recently, but the Bank of Canada has now sort of signaled that that might be it. We might have reached the end of the raises and the rising rates. And it looks as though it could be until early 2024 when they start to bring those rates down. And at that time, well, who knows what's going to happen then? Because I think when they signal that they're bringing the rates down, again, we keep saying this, but the fundamental problem of not enough housing remains. And 2024, we could start to see those prices take off again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So overall, pretty good year to get out and buy. First time buyers, I think if you can get in this year, don't wait till next year. I think that would be a mistake. And if you're selling this year, I think the sooner you get on the market, is probably the faster you'll get your sale.
You're going to have less competition. You're going to have more serious buyers. And right now there's not a lot on the market.
Yeah. Now, as always, everybody's particular situation can be a little bit different. So if you have questions about what's going on in your world, we're always here to help. Just reach out.